Breaking news, the Supreme Court is siding with Trump on allowing the birthright citizenship to be implemented, meaning federal courts on a district level cannot issue a restraining order, an injunction. Prior to this decision, federal district courts, which are on the lowest level on a federal level, were allowed to implement injunctions nationwide. Now the Supreme Court is saying that federal district courts don't have that power and authority to implement nationwide injunctions. Now there's some states, where it's like Washington, New York, Tri-State Area, New Jersey, Connecticut, there are injunctions in place where this policy cannot be implemented. So it won't affect those places, but other states will be able to implement certain types of policies restricting birthright citizenship. So you may be in a situation on a federal level where there's some states that will not allow Trump's policies restricting birthright citizenship, and some states starting to implement policies such as, I'm not going to give you a birth certificate if your father, your mother is not a United States citizen, or you're basically without status, you're undocumented, and you give birth to a child. So this is going to create a precarious situation. But the news today is that the Supreme Court is essentially allowing the Trump administration to go forward by taking away the power of the federal courts on a district level to implement nationwide restrictions. All right. Now, there's going to be a bigger issue about the constitutionality of this, whether it gets to the appellate, the Second Circuit, or it gets to the circuit courts when it's appealed by the federal district courts, because lots of people are going to challenge in conservative areas, let's say Texas. The district judges are going to be very conservative, and they may allow the state to implement policies to limit children that are, let's say, born where their parents are not green card holders or citizens, or at least one parent is not at the very least. And then that issue is probably going to end up coming to the Supreme Court, which is going to have to ultimately decide on the issue. But the big news is that Trump is going to be prevailing, at least on a statewide level, in certain places where he's going to be able to start implementing policies. And this is a cause for great concern. If you're in a state where the majority of the federal bench is very conservative, you may see the federal bench making a decision saying that the government's going to be able to implement this